Hey guys, finally putting this video together now that I'm back from therapy. But first of all, I just want to say, I was right! Kind of. If you look back at my most recent video, and I suspect I know when the trailer could appear, the April 2nd Nintendo Direct. I did guess correctly that the trailer would drop in the Switch 2 Direct, but I got the release date wrong. So half isn't terrible, and June 5th is still really close. But since we're here, I'd like to go over the trailer, do some quick little analysis, throw in my reactions to the trailer after I've had it simmering in my head a bit, show off relevant information in the newsletter. So with that, let's get going. When this little Toby mascot suit approached the camera while I was watching Shay's livestream, I was like, oh my gosh, it's really happening. I was just excited. And it was so vindicating, too. Also, I absolutely adore the sweet animation of Chris pulling Susie up. It just really captures the trio's friendship right here, and I love all the darkeners in the background. We got a good recap with previous chapters. Stamped in sands are mandatory, of course. We got some new minigames. Finally teases it all the new stuff. Beautiful animation by Temmie. So, Switch launch day is June 5th, but now that I've gone over the trailer real quick, I'd just like to kind of single out some sections that I think are interesting. So let's start... Actually, let me see if there's anything kind of hidden in this big group shot before we flash to white. Also, amazing smear frame, or kind of just squash and stretch on Lancer right there. Great animation. But, yeah, let's frame by frame, because sometimes little shots like this might hold secrets. Okay, now that's an actual smear frame, and it's excellent. The animation in Deltarune is so great. Okay, so let's keep going a little bit. Actually, I'll play it a little bit more. Okay. So let's see. Well, we see a Shadow Man right there, so that's just more confirmation, because we've seen pictures of them in Castletown in previous updates. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any hidden darkeners. Let's see. Well, there's an Addison right there. It's there. Okay, no, that's the pop-up. Yeah, so it doesn't look like... Unless there's someone over there... No, I think this shot actually doesn't have anything amazingly secret in it. But it's still cool. Anyway, moving a little further ahead, past the Chapter 1 and 2 stuff, let's look at this footage of the Shadow Men. And there's a couple big differences between this and the Spamton Sweepstakes version. First of all, you've got the ammo meter up at the top, which seems to be the little hearts that you shoot to knock their socks off, quite literally. And there's a little time meter here. But yeah, it seems to kind of give you a look at how long the turn's going to be. Now, in terms of this, one of the commenters on my most recent video thought that this might be a variation of the Green Soul mode, but now that we have the newsletter, we know that this is actually a Switch 2 minigame specifically, so let me scroll down to the relevant info in the newsletter. So yeah, they made a very special room which takes advantage of the mouse controls on the two Joy-Cons. So this is a unique feature just to the Switch 2 version, but the other consoles will get their own unique minigame. So what I think is going to happen, because as we have this minigame here, which seems to be some form of karaoke rhythm game type mechanic with, like, Ralsei, Chris, and Susie. Of course, Ralsei would be on vocals given his lullaby attack. Chris shredding on guitar and Susie going to town on the drums. These all really fit each of their characters. And there seems to be a little popularity meter, which is also awesome. I have a feeling this might be maybe introduced in the Chapter 3, since it is TV studio themed, but then you can go back and play different songs later. And I'll show you why when I cover some of the screenshots on the Steam page. And then this shot here is really interesting due to the lighting. I know some other people have noticed how Susie looks kind of orange here, but let's also go back single frame, because It looks like there's some shattering terrain of some kind, whether it's glass or like rocks. The tile work looks really similar to Hotland. Both those walls and those kind of blue tiles kind of remind me a little bit of some of the rocky Hotland tiles. But you'll also notice that while Chris is down here, they also kind of have this kind of hue-shifted look like Susie does. But then once Chris goes up, you'll see they have their normal color palette as they reach the upper level. In fact, I bet we can pinpoint the exact frame their color changes. So it's probably part of like one animation, but once Chris is separated, they change. Yep. Right here, as we pause, we can see the bottoms of stained glass windows. I think this basically confirms that Chapter 4 will be a church Dark World, or at least partially in the church, as we go forward, because we don't get to look at these very long. Oh, interesting. When Chris hits the rocks, it looks like they're kind of grabbing on to climb, and they're that interesting color palette again. And yeah, Susie's climbing along the walls too, so I wonder if it's going to be like a little climbing mechanic. And that tile's lighting up. That's really interesting. I wonder what that means. I wonder if it's like an indicator or something, because the next tile's also lighting up. I didn't catch that in my first look through here. Interesting. And we get our first look at Tenna since the end of Chapter 2. It looks like he might just be a TV head type design, which was one of the most common fan depictions. We'll have to see, but of course we've got the iconic smile, and this little shot here, it definitely feels like Everdread, because Everdread edited the trailer. Looks cool as heck, and I love the kind of eerie CRT filter here, very fitting. And this shot here also definitely evokes church feelings, because for one, you've got the symbol of the Deltarune on these really regal-looking floor tiles. With whatever these shadowy, spooky balls are, I'm really curious if that's like from the chapter's antagonist, or like they're all a type of darkener. We'll have to wait and see. I've seen people make connections to like Christmas ornaments with the rounded shape, and we'll go into that a bit when I cover the Steam website images in a second, but yeah, my bets at this point are pretty firmly on either church or maybe church and Holiday Mansion, but I'm less convinced about the Holiday Residence right now simply because so much is pointing toward church. And this is really cool because you see these huge angel wings opening over what looks like a save point, which the symbol of the save point is also used on the Titans. So, in addition to this beautiful animation by Temmie, I think we're kind of getting a tease at, like, the angel or, like, the climax in some capacity. So, with that in mind, I'm just going to quickly tab over to the screenshots on the Steam page, because they offer a bit more insight to what we might see. So, first of all, we've got this picture. Jockington grows the beard. And a bunch of things stick out. For one, this confirms that Jockington's going to have a role to play in this chapter. But what I also find really fascinating is that you can see the same kind of watery texture that is kind of used in the Dark Fountain itself, as well as in the Goner Maker. I don't know if it's the exact same source image. And it looks like there's something in the background, like little dark clouds floating. I may have to do some image editing, and if I see anything interesting here, I'll put it in post. But in addition to the lovely blue lighting, we have this darkener over here that looks like they belong in a church with lovely long robes, sleeves put together, kind of bowed posture. We have a box as well, and I wonder if it's going to contain any good items, or maybe function like the boxes in Undertale so that you can access your storage more readily. But that does kind of defeat the purpose of how you access the storage in previous chapters, so I'm less convinced. Either way, I really wonder what the role Jockington is going to play, and we'll probably see Caddy with an eye join him because they're a matched pair, so there's really cool opportunities to expand both of these characters. And my current guess is maybe we'll have Noelle, Jockington, Caddy, and some of the other kids here as like part of a youth group, and something happens that causes the Dark Fountain. Also, let's not forget that Jockington looks like the cool S symbol. which was a huge deal back in the 2000s. And in this next one, we see some Darkners, and they have a similar kind of bluish, kind of mint-colored palette, but what also sticks out to me is their heads look a lot like Christmas ornaments, which I also saw discussed in some places, and this leans a little bit more towards the Holiday Mansion, so it's possible we could see two different Dark Worlds. It would certainly make for an interesting chapter, but it could also simply be that the church has holiday decorations. Maybe they're getting ready to prepare for the festival, and so the mayor's kind of holiday family sensibilities are all kind of adorning the church. We don't have nearly enough evidence to say with certainty. However, another interesting thing we do know about Chapter 4 is that it's going to have a really long Light World section, so I'm really intrigued to see, like, if we go back and forth, if there are multiple Dark Worlds. Just, there's so many possibilities, and I love that Toby's kept us pretty vague. Actually, on further inspection, these Darkners resemble incense burners, so that keeps it pretty squarely within the realm of the church. And here we see the controls for the Shadow Men, which gives us an interesting insight on how the fight's gonna work. Seems to be button controls for this screenshot. And then over here, we have some lyrics, so if this is a mini-game, I wonder if you're going to get to select different songs, and this could be a hint at more lyrics to Don't Forget. Now, there's one more thing I'd like to point out that might give us a little more foreshadowing to what's to come, and let's go to Deltarune.com, and this background here, you can see these spires, and those also definitely feel evocative of the church. So that's a great hint that we could be seeing some more church imagery, although since this is kind of for the entire package, it's hard to say. Either way, these are great little snippets. Now, as for the newsletter itself, the most important things he covers are, like, the price and the release date, so we know it's going to be June 5th. And the $25 price tag, honestly, is super fair in my eyes, because chapters 1 and 2 on a first playthrough are already going to be, like, 10 hours of game. And considering we're getting 2 more chapters, and the next 3 chapters after that are going to be free updates, that's a fantastic deal. And he even says he'll prove that it's going to be a great deal. And I love that the soundtrack's going to be similar too, where you pay $15 for the first 4 chapters worth of music, so you don't even have to buy them individually, and then we'll get more music for free when each chapter drops. Love this silly Temmie Spamton art, and just the tiny Toby in the box, it's adorable. More fantastic Temmie art with the gang and Toby with the little Steam emblem. That's great. So I already touched on the console differences, and everyone gets Pluie. I think he's leaning into the joke myself, but we'll find out for sure. I guess this confirms that Pluie is not just a PlayStation thing, if it's more than just an inside joke. Don't know if it's a character, don't know if it's a mechanic. Time will tell. Save importing if you go from a lower-end system to a higher, always a nice feature. And I'm really curious what kind of silly trophies and achievements he came up with. On further inspection, something about the wording of the trophies paragraph is really interesting to me. Specifically, its mere existence will only bring you frustration and anguish, and it will be too late for most of you anyway. That implies that maybe there's something specifically related to the Weird Route or some other hidden trophy, and I'm really curious to see what the trophies reveal about the game, because they may include some form of spoilers, so be careful when the game drops. Also, the contrast between this cute little Toby sniffing a flower to just squeezing it, eyes super intense. I bet this has been so cathartic to Toby, especially just with all the hype and building up to this moment. He and his team have been hard at work, and I'm so glad that this is coming. So, in closing, very exciting news. I'll definitely keep my eyes out for any future updates and cover them as we go along. But in addition to the Deltarune hype, I think my other big excitement is just, we're getting a Bravely Default remaster. Oh my gosh. If you haven't played the original Bravely Default on the 3DS, and you plan on getting a Switch 2, highly recommend. Absolutely charming classical-style RPG, innovative battle system, has Ring-a-Bell, one of my favorite fictional characters of all time, very good voice acting, There are a couple things that I hope they fix in the new remaster, but I don't want to go into that because of spoilers. Other than that, I think 2025 is going to be a really busy year for me, because with Deltarune coming out in June, I'm going to stream the game on launch day, gonna make analysis videos and speculation and theories and all that good stuff. But I'm also planning on doing some more streaming, probably as soon as tomorrow, to finish Moon Remix RPG Adventure, start working on that meta-narratives and gaming video, maybe even playing Stars in Time as well, because I've heard that might be a good game to cover for the way games use meta-narrative in their unique forms of storytelling. And I'm going to stream Persona 5 Strikers at some point soon. I also want to release the Akechi video over the summer, maybe by his birthday in June, but it really depends. I'm currently going through the Mementos mission manga, gonna replay Repaint Your Heart from Tactica, as well as cover Persona Q in my research so that I can give the most comprehensive view of the characters I possibly can. Going to absolutely work on catching up on the Vods Channel. If you don't know of my Vods Channel, I'll link it on screen and in the description. I'm currently going through a huge backlog of games. But if you want to kind of stay in touch with all the different projects, like the Inverted Fate Chapter Pack is getting new updates, you can follow me on my socials, support me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, like these fine folks on screen here. I post work in progress, I post updates, concept art, all kinds of delicious and juicy things. And other than that, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.